Welcome to ZZ Talk Features. Features are a standalone segment in which I, my co-host, or the both of us, invite someone who is uniquely situated to elaborate on the topic. Today, my guest is a classmate from my high school days. She's also an actress and a vocal advocate for social justice causes. On social media, she's Alexandra Ficken, but to us, she's Allie. Allie, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if you know this, but you're a bit of a trailblazer because prior to this, ZZ Talk has been pretty much just myself, my co-host, and then two other dudes who I interviewed. So you're the first female in ZZ Talk.
All
So
right.
congrats on that.
Yay. Go
So,
women.
so to start off, if you could, um, give us a sense of who you are, how you got to being an actress, and just who are you?
Yeah, totally. It's a wild story. No, it's not. So I grew up in Marietta, and I'm a Northside baby, which they ask what hospital you were born in Atlanta. So I grew up. I was always performing in kind of in a way throughout grade school and middle school. I went to a private school for like 11 years, and then I guess it wasn't until middle school when I started really getting into more of like the theater and understanding what the theater and acting was. My performance aspect growing up was through dance. So that's when I was on stage. It was, every year, every Christmas, every recital. That was the kind of aspect that I had in that live performance world. And then I guess it wasn't until around 8th grade. I actually had to I sat down with my parents one night, and we kind of discussed, because I was in a very strict ballet program, and it was after school every day, all on the weekends, like even during like holidays. I remember I couldn't spend the night at people's houses because I had to be up in the studio so early. It was just very, very strict. And I remember my grades were kind of not doing so well. So my parents were like, okay, well, what are we seeing here? Like as an 8th grader, I'm like, I don't know. But I decided to kind of take a step back and get more involved in school. So I did some cheerleading, and I did like some extracurricular activities with school to get more involved and like hang out with some of my classmates and peers. But I really missed performing. And so that was when it was about 9th grade when I started, I did the theater class. And so I did that all through high school. And my 10th grade year, that's when I switched to Marietta. So I kind of had to start all over again with
Making friends.
Yeah, making friends and feeling like, hey, I'm not the new kid, am I? Yes, I am. Okay, how do I do this? Because I never switched schools before. So so glad I did, though. Marietta was so awesome. And I got really involved with some of the theater stuff. Then I still did cheerleading. I still, did clubs and everything, but kind of put dance a little bit behind me and focused more on the acting part of performing. And I liked it so much more because I was able to use like my voice instead of using my body as the language.
Mm-hmm. Makes
So
sense.
yeah. So I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I get to actually talk instead of just stand around and move. So that was something I really enjoyed. And I was like, could I do this in college? I don't know. And I thought about it. So I looked at different programs all over the South, and I didn't want to go too far away for school, but so I looked everywhere but the state of Georgia. So I was just like, I'll do out of state, which I'm like, now, wow, so much money. But I auditioned for a program at the University of Alabama, and I got in, and I loved that campus. I loved the school. And I heard that their program was really, really strong. So I was like, all right, like, here we go. I guess this is what I'm going to get my degree in. So I have a degree in music. It's theater, but it's a musical theater concentration. And then I added my dance degree on top of that. So I took a lot of hours and didn't really sleep a lot. And
You got it.
I got it in 4 years. My parents were like, you gotta go. You can be there 4 years. That's it. So I did that, and which was really, really cool, great experience. Wouldn't change it for the world. And then graduated, and then I was like, oh no, now what do I do? So it was a huge like wake up call. A lot of my friends in the program, they went to New York. That was kind of like the idea. We even did like a showcase up in New York City in front of like agents and casting directors. And then some people went to LA, some people went to Chicago, even like Seattle. I looked at Seattle, Vancouver, but not Atlanta at all. So Atlanta was not on the list whatsoever. And
hold on, I have to chime in. So
yeah.
So you avoided Georgia for college, and you're avoiding Georgia for the showcase. Why were you so allergic to home?
You know, I always had this dramatic view of me, you know, getting out of the South and hitting the road and like throwing my phone out the window and being like, see you never. Like, you know, I don't know, you know, like they do in the movies, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even know a movie that does that, but I thought that was going to be, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to like have this crazy life of, I don't know, I just not in the South. And that was kind of the idea, was I was just going to go and explore, and I don't know. And then fast forward, it didn't, I didn't go anywhere. I stayed, but it's interesting. One of the reasons why I stayed, and I talk about this a lot, is my friend Robin Spears, who went to Marietta. She was in the production world. She was in our grade, and she was in the production world here in Atlanta when it was first starting. And when the whole, I guess, television and film really started here in Georgia. And she even told me when I came back after college, my plan was just to save money and then hit the road and do whatever I was going to do, wherever I was going to go and do whatever I was going to do. And she was like, you know, you really should stay here because the work is going to come here. And I was like, no, I can't stay here. I have to have my cinematic moment of driving away and listening to some bad 90s, you know, music or something. Like, she was like, you really need to stay. I really wouldn't go yet. Just test Atlanta out, like see how you like it. And here we are, 9 years later. 9.
Well, I mean,
which is great.
Thank Robin for that then.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Robin. Which is funny because Robin's now in LA producing. So when I was like, we always make this joke, but I decided to stay and kind of give Atlanta a shot, and she left me. So
well,
no,
okay.
she's a big time girl in LA. So
okay,
I get it.
So I mean, it's quite the journey, even though you ended up home. But
I did.
Okay, so first question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the first question, but
right.
Like, first topic. So you know, to the layman, you know, you hear the term actor or actress, and you think, you know, Hollywood, or you think, you know, TV shows and such. But you know, there are obviously different levels to the profession, right? You know, you've got the stage, and even within the stage, you've got Broadway and, you know, off Broadway and all that stuff. So my first question is, what are some of the misconceptions people have when they learn that you're an actress? A female actor.
Yes, female actor. Misconceptions. That's, well, uh, they do. A lot of people do. They're like, oh, well, I guess you're so dramatic, and I am. I can't argue with that, but I guess, a lot of people do think that actors, and it is true for a lot of actors, but there's so many, like you said, there's so many different types. And if you want to do stage, or if you want to do TV, or you want to do film, or even if you want to get in the production side of things, or again, dance is another medium that you can involve yourself in the art form. I guess people just think that we're very self-centered and we're very, again, dramatic, very into our feelings, and
Well, to go along the line of the whole self-centered thing, do you think a certain level of narcissism is required to be able to put yourself out there and say, "But I can do this well enough that people will watch me do it"?
it's a good question, because I do think that some people are into this profession for fame, especially now with TikTok and Instagram and influencers, right? And the Kardashians. It's not helping anything, in my opinion. Well, maybe it is. I don't know, but that's a different art form for some people, and I think you do have to have a level of confidence. I don't know, but I do think that there are people that are just narcissistic, and they want to be the center of attention. And hey, I guess if you can pay the bills with that, sure, why not? I guess, as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Right.
But sometimes it does, and those are the people that I don't want to work with, or a lot of people don't want to work with, because they want it to be a collaboration. And the reason why I enjoy it so much, and why I've tried to make this my profession for the last almost 10 years, is the community that comes with it, but also the audience is just as important as me standing there, saying this monologue, or the audience watching this Netflix show. Is just, it might be resonating to them in a way that I could never know. And I mean, because shows do that for me, movies have always done that for me. So if I can have that effect, or a group, like an ensemble group could have an effect on someone's life, like that's the real meaning of the work and of the job. But I know it gets tricky, because it's like, you gotta show your face, everyone has really nice pictures of themselves. The red carpet's a big thing, going viral, and having, there's a lot of competition with shows right now on Netflix and Hulu, and there's all these streaming services, and everyone's pitching their own show, and these writers are writing as much as they can and trying to get it picked up, and you got to have money, and it's just such a crazy world of entertainment. It's just so wild.
Yeah, and I would say I don't know if there's ever been another time in the history of the medium of like television in which there have been this many quality shows at the same time. Like, there's some shows that are so good that you're like, if this show came out 20 years ago, it would rack up all the Emmys, and it doesn't even get a look, so
Right.
The competition is at an all-time high, in my opinion.
It is. I mean, I signed into Netflix last night, and I was like, okay, well, I just finished Schitt's Creek, and I was like, okay, well, I got to start another show. Like, what am I wanting? And I mean, it took an hour for me just to like go through the documentary section.
Yeah.
And it's wild that we're at that point. It is such a golden age of TV right now. The writing is so good, the acting is so good, the cinematography, every aspect of it. I mean, it's true art at its like, television is like at its peak, I think. I completely agree with you. So it definitely is. A lot of like companies and production companies have that pressure on to like sell.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just crazy, but it's kind of nice to watch. I guess
Yeah.
it's a nice problem to have.
It is,
Um,
yeah. I love TV, so
yeah.
I'm constantly looking for the next thing. Okay, so one thing that we talked about a couple months ago was, one of the, I guess, lesser known or lesser thought about victims of COVID-19 being, people in the arts. Theaters are obviously shut down because people can't, go there and watch shows. And so that doesn't just affect the actors, but, the other people, the key grip, I think that's the thing. I don't know. So, but other people involved.
Yeah.
So, could you like, explain how this pandemic has affected people in and around the arts and where things stand right now?
It's been so tough. So when it started, when around March, um, I was noticing, I mean, I guess in the Atlanta scene, at least, this is what happens in the theater world in Atlanta. A lot of theaters, they announce their season around in the late spring. So they kind of like, if they have like a summer show, and then they'll have like the starting fall, kind of like a football season, or um, the school schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 2020, 2021. They were just announcing what shows they were going to be doing for the next year. And then March 13th happened and literally everything just shut down. So no one was going into work. All the theaters were closed. The actors were just like, are we, I mean, I know a handful of actors that had shows going on. They were either rehearsing or they were actually doing in the run of a show, and everything just was completely canceled. So they didn't show up for work or the show, nothing. And then it was a kind of question of like, okay, well, now what? So we're not going around people. So now what are we doing? And then as the months kept going, it just, I think, started to really set in that, oh, wow, this isn't going to be happening for a while. And I mean, unfortunately, there's so many, when you're sitting in a theater, especially with a live performance, I mean, that ticket sales are so important to begin with. And when you don't have that, even if people were spread out, you're not selling enough tickets to really even pay maybe the actors that night. I don't know numbers.
The production is unsustainable, essentially.
Exactly. So, I mean, everything just came to a halt, and it was the most bizarre, weird, unsettling feeling for everyone, and not just actors, but again, production couldn't go back. Even and people working from home, they were trying to figure out ways of keeping, the tickets coming in, but like, how are we gonna sell theater or live theater when we can't do it? And that, a lot of people got creative with Zoom. So they've been doing a lot of like readings, play readings, things like that through Zoom, which is so not the same, but it's a way to stay active. It's a way to keep the creative flow going. But I mean, there's no telling when it's gonna come back.
Right.
And if it does.
So as of now, it's still hazy, like what the future is.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, with a lot of theaters in Atlanta, um, we have a couple that have announced some season shows. Um, they also have to go through Actors Equity, which is the union based in New York, and they kind of have to get the green light to be able, because the union is they're there to take care of the actors. And so if you're not meeting up the safety standards under their book, you can't produce a show.
So the Actors Equity Union, that's national?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, the actors have a union, or theater actors, and then the TV film actors have the SAG-AFTRA union.
Yeah.
So I actually was a part of the union a few years ago. I ended up dropping it because I found that in Atlanta I didn't really need to be in the union. There's all this like information that is probably super boring, but it essentially, being a part of a union, I mean, definitely I think is super beneficial. But for me, it was more like I wanted to work on non-union things. And I still wanted to create. And I unfortunately wasn't able to do that for the couple years that I was in the union. So I just ended up dropping it. But yeah, they have to actually go through the union to see if it would work. And even with the talking of it right now, I don't even know if they've come to a conclusion of how they're going to do it. I know that one theater has announced that they might be doing a radio show style drive-in with only 5 actors, and you would literally park your car and it would be A Christmas Carol, and you and your family would park the car, and I guess they would have some kind of mic to amplify their voices in your car, and then in like a big lot somewhere, and the actors would be acting outside. So I think that a lot of outdoor theaters have done pretty okay with this, but unfortunately, like with a lot of theaters in the nation, you have to be inside.
Yeah.
And people
See,
just don't want to do that.
I was thinking how, the idea of like the drive-in thing, or the radio show would work, but I mean, it sounds like it's something that they already do, and also I think people just want an outlet, so
Yeah,
they probably would go for it.
I think so too. We'll see. I mean, it's slated to be there for the holiday season, and I have some friends that actually might be working on it. So we'll see. Everybody's just crossing their fingers, I guess. Yeah. And they're trying to just wait for that green light to be like, okay, we can do this. I think it has to deal with a lot of testing, and quarantining and temperature checks, things like that. But as far as like audience interaction, you can't. Because you can't have that responsibility if someone were to get sick. I mean, it's just then everything's shut down again and it would be over. So
okay, last thing on this topic. You mentioned Zoom shows. You did one, right?
I did. Yeah, I just recently did one last week. It actually went really, really, really well.
So walk me through it. So
Yeah.
are you in costume, or is it just reading? And also, do you have an audience? Like, how does that work?
So from what I understood from last week's Zoom, I've done a couple, and last week's Zoom, we had a stage manager, which she was doing pretty much all of the tech stuff like through Zoom. And I don't know a whole lot of about Zoom. So, but she had the ability to have the audience come in, I guess, but like sit on your computer or television, wherever your phone, wherever you're watching it. And you're able to be in that particular room, your mic's off and your video is off. Yeah. And then you just make sure, as an audience member, you make sure that you're viewing all the selected I guess it's there's a setting on here. I'm actually like
Mhm.
looking at it right now.
To be able to see multiple.
Yes, hide non-video participants, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that it? Yeah, because
Uh,
I
we
just learned that.
we we did something similar at work where this one company was showing us um, their new offering with Amazon Web Services, and so it was a Zoom thing, but none of us could actually participate. You know, our
Right.
mics were muted, so it sounds just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So as an audience member, you are just kind of, you know, in the background,
Yeah.
and then but you're watching everything live, and then it was actors. Pretty much, it was because usually when you have a reading of a play or workshopping a play, um, usually it's in a space, and uh, the actor may have like a music stand. We have the script in front of us, and we kind of like a read through, or
Mhm.
I'm sure you've seen like table reads of
Yeah.
people in their shows and stuff. So essentially, it was kind of like that, but instead of having a music stand, the script is just right here, like in front of me.
So you're basically just like reading off a teleprompter.
Yeah, you're basically just I was, at least that's what I was doing, and I know a lot of the other actors too, because we only had like a few rehearsals, and it was for a fundraiser, and so I didn't, you know, we didn't really have time to memorize it, and we don't have the rehearsal time to memorize it, and it's just so much easier to memorize and learn a show when you're actually like doing it, and when you're just sitting there, it's so much harder. And so then you put the script up, you've got the camera there, and then you have your scene partner, like however you want to put it, like in the gallery style. I mean, it's just all over the place. And then you have to like mute yourself, and then you have to like when you leave stage, you have to, you know, stop your video, and then when you enter back on stage, you have to start your video, and you just kind of have to be in the moment.
That sounds terrible.
It it was very nerve-wracking at first, but once we did it a couple times, like I was like, oh yeah, we got this. And I don't know how it is for an audience member, like changing scene to scene, because usually with a scene change, it's like lights and music, and it's such a moment. And I guess on Zoom, it's just like black screen, or like it's just like, oh, we're in a new scene. It's very bizarre. So but it went really, really well. And it actually, there were parts of the show that really worked, like on a computer, because it was about high school students. And I don't know, it just had had a good feel for what we were doing, and the setting of the play. So
So how would sorry, I know I said that was the last question, but I am interested
no,
in the
no.
Zoom thing. So how would well, how would people find out about it? Because I didn't even know these were going on. And is it like a, I'm assuming it's not a free thingy, right? Like you pay to view it?
So the one that I did last week, it was just a fundraiser. You could donate however much you wanted, but usually it's through an email, and then you get the Zoom link to sign in. But a lot of theaters, they're posting about it on Instagram, their websites. At least the ones that I've seen in Atlanta are doing that, and I know that some are, a lot of New York theaters are doing it too, and famous people are doing it. They're doing rereads of their old movies and old shows, and it's fun to do, because it's like, so it's very interactive for the actor. I haven't actually, I've seen only a couple as an audience member, and granted, it's not the same, but it is nice to be able to listen to something and watch something that's not, it's someone's work.
Yeah.
And and usually they're free, so which is nice. And I think because everyone, just like you said, needs that outlet.
Yeah, I'll probably seek one of these out. It sounds interesting, so I want to see how it manifests itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so